Once upon a time, a very small jet fighter aeroplane landed in the sitting room.
It was a little one?
It was a little one, but not that little. It was big enough for a little boy to sit inside. Luckily, this house did have a little boy. So the little boy came along, got into the jet fighter in the sitting room, and then turned the engines on by pressing some buttons inside. First of all, the jet fighter rose up in the air, and then it shot forward out of the open window, vroom, and started flying around the neighborhood.
What's a neighborhood?
The neighborhood is the area where you live. It's like we live in a certain village. Well, the neighborhood is all around our village. So it includes the house next door, the house at the end of the road, the house across the way there, the house over there, and maybe even a bigger neighborhood, or many houses all the way down to the bottom of the village. That's called the neighborhood. Because our neighbors live there. Our neighbors live in the neighborhood. Anyway, so the jet fighter started flying around the neighborhood with the little boy inside. People came out of their houses because the jet fighter was making a terrible noise, a sort of whoosh, whoosh, whoosh noise as it flew through the air. Now, the little boy wasn't very good at flying jet fighters.
Why?
Because he'd never flown one before, but it wasn't that difficult. You just have to put your hands on the steering wheel and steer right in the right direction, and you also have to make sure you can go up and down. If you want to go down, you push the lever up, or is it the other way around, or is it down? I have no idea, actually, but you have a joystick. A joystick goes up and down. I guess up is up and down is down, but that's what you do. You push the joystick in the right direction to change your height, so you have to make sure you pull it down to make sure push it up to make sure you're higher than the houses. And you also have to steer round to make sure you don't bump into any clouds. Is that right? What would happen if you bump into a cloud?
I don't know.
Nothing, because a cloud's made of water vapor. You just go straight through it. Unless it happens to be one of Jack and the Beanstalk's clouds, in which case you walk along the road on top of it. But in this case, the jet fighters were flying around the village, making everybody come out of their houses to look at it. Then somebody saw the little boy and pointed, "Look, there's a little boy flying the plane." Now, it just so happened that one of the people who lived in the village also had a jet fighter plane. So he decided to get in it, and they were going to have a battle. The little boy in his jet fighter and the other boy in his other jet fighter. And they flew into the air, and then they started firing the missiles which are at the bottom of the jet fighter at each other. Luckily for the boys, they missed each other and nobody got hurt. And then the jet fighter flew round in one final circle and blew red, blue and green smoke out of its exhaust to amuse everybody. Everybody cheered and clapped when they saw what a wonderful flight this jet fighter had just had. And then it came down to land and landed back in the boy's garden. The boy jumped out to tell his mummy and daddy, and the jet fighter took off and was gone. "Mummy, mummy, mummy," said the little boy, "I've just been flying around the village in a jet fighter." "Have you really?" said the mummy. "Well, dear, that sounds very interesting." And she carried on with her washing up. "No, mummy, really, I flew around." "Yes, of course, my dear," she said. She didn't believe him. "But, mummy, I did. Come outside and you'll see all the people clapping and cheering." Well, mummy reluctantly left her washing up and went outside. And when the people saw the little boy who'd been in the jet fighter, they all clapped and cheered and said, "Look at this, the boy can fly a jet fighter." And they clapped their hands very loud, and mummy was very impressed with him. Well, that's the end of this story. Did you want another one?
Yeah. I want no story about no jet fighter.
Well, another one?
Yeah.
You mean, well, why don't I just carry on with this one and have a second jet fighter story now? Anyway, mummy said to the little boy, "What would you like to do when you grow up?" And he said, "I want to build big jet fighters for adults to be in." Mummy thought, yeah, that's an interesting story. But one day, the little boy was at school, and a man came to the school to talk to the children about the career different careers like you could be a school teacher, you could be a doctor, you could be a dentist, or you could build jet fighters. And he asked if anybody in the school wanted to be a jet fighter, not jet fighter pilot, somebody who builds them. Well, you can guess who put his hand up, can't you? Who do you think put his hand up?
I did.
Yes, exactly. And so the man said, well, if you really want to be a fly jet fighters, or rather, if you really want to make them, you can come with me now. We need somebody in the factory straight away. So the little boy went off to the factory to work on the task of building jet fighters. I'm scratching my back. Now, to start with, when he started, he had to learn how to screw all the bits together. Because when you make a jet fighter, you've got to put the wings on the plane. First, we've got to make the body of the plane. Then you've got to put the wings on. Then you've got to put the tail on. And then you've got to put the engine in the bottom and the wheels. And only... They can, if they're on enemy sides. If they're not on the same side, they can certainly have a fight with missiles. That was a good scratch. Anyway, what was I saying? Yes. No, don't do that thing, please. So where did we get to? We're on the jet fighter story, aren't we? Yes. The little boy had to learn how to make jet fighters. After he knew how to make them, he decided to make a very big and powerful one with lots of missiles at the bottom. Now this jet fighter, he spent a long time drawing. First of all, he drew a picture of it to see what it looked like, and coloured it in with all the colours and crayons. And after he'd got a nice picture of the jet fighter coloured in very well, he went to see his boss in the jet fighter factory and said, "Can I make this jet fighter?" Now the boss looked very carefully at the boy's drawing and said, "You have done a very good drawing. It looks just like a jet fighter. Just like the one we'd like to have. I like the design." So the factory owner said, "Off you go to make the jet design just like you've drawn it." So the little boy started to get all the pieces ordered, and when they arrived, he started to put them together. And he made a very large jet fighter. Bigger than our house, to be honest. But it was a very powerful machine. Nothing could resist it. Now the boy by then, it took a long time to make an airplane. The boy by then had become an adult, a young 18-year-old. And sadly, the day came when the country went to war. And they needed people to fly the jet fighter planes. Of course, you can imagine the little boy, who is now 18, volunteered. Volunteered means he offered to go himself. He volunteered to become the jet fighter of the jet fighter plane that he'd made himself. So he volunteered to go into the Air Force, and they gave him the job of flying the jet fighter. So, as he flew, he shot down the enemy planes with the first bullet, because his bullets were very powerful. His missiles were extra powerful. And then, when the enemy saw the large jet fighter with lots of missiles, they decided it might be safer to go home. So they all turned around and headed back to their home country. And the little boy had all by himself won the war for the country. Then it was time for him to receive the medals. So there was going to be a big ceremony, and his mummy and daddy came, and his brother came, and his sister came, and they called out his name, and he went on the stage, and the president of the country pinned the medal on his chest. "Hooray!" said everybody, cheering loudly and clapping. "Hooray for our hero!" Everybody was very happy. And that's the end of the story, my little boy. I'll stop it now.
But you haven't told enough story.
I thought that was 2 stories about jet fighters. Wasn't that enough?
That was There's only little story.
All right, one more, then you're going to go to sleep.
Okay.
You promise?
Yes.
Okay. I'll just turn this one on off and we'll start a new story.